Hi, I'm Joe Farace. Welcome to this weekly, monthly, bi-weekly podcast that is unrehearsed, unscripted, and takes a look at film photography, digital photography, and infrared photography. So let's get started. Let's kick off this podcast with a new segment called Lens of the Week. And our first lens of the week is a Lumix G fisheye 8mm f3.5 that's made for Micro Four Thirds cameras such as Olympus or OM systems and Panasonic cameras. We'll start with shooting some infrared down at McKay Meadows right now. Well, here I am in McKay Meadows, and I've brought along my Lumix GX1, which is pretty old as digital cameras go in internet years, but it's had the hypercolor filter, infrared filter applied from Light Pixels, and I'm hoping that we'll get some good images today. Over my shoulder back here somewhere, you'll see one of my favorite trees, and we'll walk over there and shoot some pictures right away. Meanwhile, this is the Lumix 8mm f3.5 fisheye lens. We'll talk more about that when we get back into the workroom. That's what we're going to be using. It's maybe a little wide, but I kind of like wide angles for infrared photography. We'll see how it turns out. I'm here in front of this bridge that you've seen me photograph in infrared several times. But I'm just finished making a few photographs of the bridge, and I hope that they come out really good. They look really good on the screen, but it's really hard to tell with infrared. It has many aspects of film photography, and that way you really don't know what you're going to get until you look at them on your computer. Another useful tool that I found out here is the level that goes across your screen, the electronic level that's an option on a lot of digital cameras and mirrorless cameras. I think it's a good idea, especially when you're looking through the small eyepiece and the electric viewfinder, to help, especially with this wide angle lens. It helps keep things from getting a little too goofy because the lens is going to exaggerate everything anyway. Well, we're back from McKay Meadows, and it turned out pretty good, and I think I'll be sprinkling a few images in the segment before this, showing different approaches to processing those kind of infrared images. There's not just one way. Let's just give a quick wrap up to this camera. First of all, it's lens of the week, which doesn't really mean it's the best lens or the only lens or you should run out and buy one. In fact, it's so specialized, I would think that it would be a lens that you would use infrequently, but it is a lot of fun at the same time. It has that really wide angle view. It's got 180 degrees, which can be very surprising when you first look through the viewfinder and see what you got. It's also a very small lens. It only weighs 5.82 ounces. I mean, but the one thing I wish it had, but you'll see that it has a built-in lens hood. Isn't perfect protection against flare, as you'll see in one of the images that I'll show you. But also, it's very vulnerable for banging into things, and even when you were schlepping two cameras like I was, I had the Canon M6 Mark II and and the GX1. You have to be careful to protect the front, and there's like no way that you can get any kind of filter on to protect it, so you have to be careful. But it was a lot of fun. I had a good time there, and I hope that you enjoyed this segment, and maybe we'll do it again sometime. And now we come to a new favorite part of the podcast. What national month is it? And here's a few you might want to be celebrating with your photography, or maybe not. And so maybe we cheat a little bit. We featured a photograph of a rose I made a while ago, because roses were Mary's late mother's favorite flower. And now we come to the Q&A portion of the podcast. So we have a couple of questions this week. And I'd like to mention that all of these questions came through my website, joefarace.com. But recently, in the last 2 podcasts and videos, I've opened up the comment section on YouTube. So if you have any questions, you can always place them on the comments and I will answer them here. So let's start with the first one. One viewer wants to know if, in addition to doing these podcasts, if I plan on doing any streaming. Well, there are a couple of possibilities here, some negative, some whatever. Number one, doing these podcasts are technically challenging for me. They are not easy to do for me. I struggle to make sure that these go smoothly, but they often don't. Well, most times they don't. So I have to do a lot of hocus pocus in the post-production, of which I'm not the best at. And I do my best to try to make something that looks semi-coherent at the end. So there's a technical challenge of doing streaming. I'm not sure I'm up to it right now. Maybe at some point when I get this stuff together, we'll give it a try. But the second part of this answer is, I don't know if anybody would watch. The truth is, the most recent video I did about why I shoot film and why now, it got more than normal views for me. But not enough that maybe 2 or 3 people would tune into a live streaming thing. Maybe if we get the number of subscribers up or number of views up, I'll take a look at it too. So a couple of planets have to line up. Number one is the technical challenge. And number 2 is is anybody going to watch? And the next question is really kind of poignant because I just got off of checking my eBay auctions. It says, are you interested in reviewing point and shoot film cameras? Well, I've done a couple of blog posts on 2 particular point and shoot cameras, the Leica Z2X, which I was totally unimpressed with, and the other one was the Minolta Prod 20. Both of these cameras were stylistically interesting. The Minolta did a little bit better job of working. One of the cameras I've been really interested in, I just lost an auction on eBay. I was outbid by a lot. Was the Yashica Electro 35, and it comes in multiple different versions. You wouldn't be surprised to learn that one of my motivations in that particular camera, it has a terrifically sharp lens, f1.7 45mm lens. The other is, this was the camera that Andrew Garfield used when he was portraying Spider-Man. So this is often somebody in eBay will advertise this as the Spider-Man camera, but I think he only used it once in this first film that he was in. But it's a cool looking camera, and I'm still kind of motivated to get one. So I'm interested in reviewing point and shoot cameras. I'd really like to find a source of thrift store cameras so you can buy them for like $5, $10, and just to have fun with them to see where that goes. But the only thing that we have here locally is the Goodwill store, which is actually a very nice place. And they haven't had any cameras. I go up there all the time, check for Legos, believe it or not. And then I'll also look and see if they have cameras. So far, no Legos, no cameras. Now, the next one is, I have a much more positive answer, and that is, will I be reviewing any infrared films? Maybe it'll be in the next film box. The July film box is going to be, well, let's say it may be a surprise, or maybe not. But there won't be any infrared films in it. I'm really interested in the Rolly infrared film, and my friend Barry Staver has found a really good location for us, not too far from where he lives, that has some a small stream and some really nice plants, and a lot more interesting than the McCabe Meadows I've kind of beat to death over the last couple of years shooting infrared digital. But I'm really interested in shooting the Rolly stuff. So I think once Barry and I get that scheduled to shoot, I will go down there and shoot some Rolly infrared film, and we'll make it the image of the week or photo of the week here. So that's the questions for this week. I hope you use the comments below to ask some questions we'll get to in the near future, and we'll go back to the podcast. If you'd like to send some film or other photo gear for us to test on a blog or on these videos, there's an address below. Please check it out. You can send it right directly there. And if you do all the YouTube stuff like liking this video or subscribing, even better, it'll help the algorithm that'll let more people get a chance to see these videos. And to quote the late Dave Garroway, peace.